When my mother passed away, my dad inherited our home and $33 million. Then he threw me out, saying, "Go die somewhere else, your mother isn't here to defend you anymore." Days later, the attorney laughed. "Did you even read the will?" He turned white because the will said, "You know, I once thought I understood what betrayal felt like, but nothing prepares you for the moment your own father, just days after your mother's funeral, looks you dead in the eye and tells you to pack your bags because your mother can't protect you anymore. What kind of monster does that?" You won't believe what happened next. Hello everyone. I'm Olivia Henderson, and I'm 32 years old. Today, I'm finally sharing the story of how 8 years of humiliation, of being a ghost in my own life, ended with my father losing his entire empire in front of 300 witnesses. All because he couldn't hide his true nature for just 30 more days. For nearly a decade, I was the invisible architect, the ghost behind Henderson Development Corporation. My father, Richard, was the CEO, the face on magazine covers, the one accepting awards for innovative vision. Meanwhile, I, with my MIT degree, was drawing blueprints at 3 a.m. while he took the credit at 9 a.m. board meetings. My salary? A laughable $45,000 a year, while the industry average for my experience was well over $100,000. But I stayed. I stayed for my mother, Eleanor, who desperately tried to keep our fragile family peace. "Richard, she designed the entire Metro Plaza complex," she'd gently remind him. His response? Always the same: "Recognition is earned, Eleanor, not handed out like participation trophies." That Metro Plaza complex? It won 3 architectural awards. My name wasn't on a single submission. Then came March 2024. The oncologist's words were clinical, precise: stage 4 pancreatic cancer. 3 to 6 months. My world crumbled. But my mother? She started meeting with someone named Michael Torres every Tuesday. Estate planning, she'd say with a strange, knowing smile, making sure everything's in order. My father, meanwhile, grew bolder, his cruelty hardening with each week of her decline. By September, he wasn't even pretending to review my work before stamping his name on it. The Century Tower project, that was my heart and soul. $500 million, 47 floors, revolutionary sustainable design. I poured 14 months into every detail, crafting something that would redefine Boston's skyline. "This needs to be flawless, Olivia," he demanded. I delivered beyond flawless. The environmental systems alone would save 30% on energy costs. The public spaces I designed? Urban planners would study them for decades. Yet, when the preliminary designs went to the investors, the cover letter read, "I'm pleased to present my vision for Century Tower. Richard Henderson." "It's just business protocol, sweetheart," my mother would whisper from her bed, frail, having lost 40 pounds. "Your time will come." But that September, while organizing her papers, I stumbled upon property transfer documents. 2 years earlier, my father had systematically moved all joint assets into his name alone. The house, the investment properties, even Mom's inheritance. For tax purposes, Eleanor, he'd coo through her morphine haze. "I'm protecting our family's future." Our family. I was never truly part of his definition. The night before she died, Mom squeezed my hand with surprising strength. "The foundation," she whispered. "Remember the foundation, Olivia?" I thought she was delirious, the morphine fogging her mind. I had no idea she was giving me the key to everything. October 15th, 3:47 a.m. My mother drew her last breath. My father was asleep in the guest room, claiming her medical equipment disturbed his rest. I held her hand, whispering memories, needing to believe she could hear me. The hospice nurse quietly made calls. My father appeared at 6 a.m., showered, suited. "How long?" he asked. 3 hours ago. He nodded once, pulled out his phone, and called, not the funeral home, not family, his lawyer. "James, Eleanor passed." I need the will reading scheduled immediately. Today, if possible. It happened that afternoon in our living room, the same room where Mom hosted 30 years of holiday dinners. My father's golf buddy and lawyer, James Whitman, read the simple document. To my beloved husband, Richard Henderson, I leave the entirety of my estate, $33 million, the family home, everything. My father's smile was subtle, chilling. The kind he wore after closing a ruthless deal. There's nothing for Olivia? I asked, my voice a broken whisper. Whitman glanced at my father. The will is quite clear. Everything goes to your father. Dad leaned back in Mom's favorite chair, a self-satisfied smirk on his face. Your mother trusted me to take care of things. Don't worry, Olivia. You'll be fine. The way he said fine made my skin crawl. Without Mom's protection, my position at Henderson Development immediately became precarious. 8 years of work, an MIT degree, but my resume would only show intern at a family business. My father owned the family home now. Every photo, every piece of furniture, even the desk where I designed Century Tower, all his. The morning after the will reading, my office keycard was deactivated. Just a system glitch, he loudly announced when security called him. Olivia is still learning our protocols. Still learning? 8 years and $40 million worth of projects, and I was still learning? But Century Tower was my leverage. The project was set to break ground in 3 months. Investors had approved my designs. Any major changes would trigger $50 million in contract penalties. The final funding presentation was scheduled for October 25 at the Ritz-Carlton. 300 attendees, investors, city officials, international partners. If I walked away now, if I let him present my work as his own, he'd destroy my reputation. That evening, an email arrived, Torres and Associates. Urgent matter regarding your mother's estate. Please contact immediately. I almost deleted it. What could be urgent about an estate that was already distributed? October 18, Mom's funeral. My father delivered a eulogy with practiced perfection. Eleanor was the ideal partner, he said, his voice carrying just the right amount of grief. She never complained, never demanded, always trusted my judgment. He was rewriting history in real time. My mother had been a force, quiet but powerful, the one who truly built the company's reputation. After the service, as guests gathered for the reception, my father clinked his glass. I want to thank you all for coming, he began. Eleanor's passing leaves a void, but I want to assure our friends and partners that Henderson Development will continue strong. In fact, I'll be making some necessary changes. He looked directly at me. Olivia will be transitioning out of the company within 72 hours. It's time she found her own path, away from her father's shadow. Eleanor always protected her, perhaps too much. But now, she needs to learn to stand on her own feet. Then he dropped the bomb. The house, of course, will be transitioned as well. A fresh start is best for everyone. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Mrs. Blackwood, Mom's best friend, gripped my arm. Even the mayor looked uncomfortable. As my father passed me, his voice dropped, covered by the shocked murmurs. Find somewhere else to die. Your mother isn't here to protect you anymore. My Uncle Harold, Mom's brother, slipped me a business card. Call this number. Tonight. Michael Torres, estate attorney. Can you believe it? My own father saying those words at his wife's funeral, in front of everyone who loved her. If you've ever faced betrayal from family, you know that gut-wrenching feeling. That evening, I found my father in his study, already on his third scotch. You have 48 hours now, he said, not looking up. I'm being generous. I designed Century Tower, I shot back, my voice shaking. Every single detail. Prove it. The files are all time-stamped. The security footage shows the files on company servers. He finally looked at me, his eyes dead cold. Everything created on company time with company resources belongs to the company. And I am the company. Mom would be disgusted. Your mother was weak. She coddled you. Made you believe you were something special. You're not. You're a mediocre architect who got lucky being born into the right family. Lucky? I've worked 14-hour days for 8 years, for $45,000, while you bill clients $200 an hour for my work. Then you should thank me for the education. He laughed. I've already hired Brennan Associates to review the plans. Your amateur work needs professional polish anyway. Amateur? I could barely breathe. The Metro Plaza won 3 awards. My awards. My designs. My signature on every document. He stood, towering over me. You have nothing. You are nothing without the Henderson name. And after Monday, you won't even have that. I'll go to the investors myself. With what credentials? You're an intern who's about to be fired for incompetence and trying to steal credit for her father's work. Who do you think they'll believe? I turned to leave. 8 a.m. Monday, he called after me. Be gone, or I'll have security escort you out. October 19th, 7 a.m. Torres and Associates occupied an entire floor of the Credential Tower. Michael Torres himself met me, his expression grave but kind. Your mother was a remarkable woman, he said, leading me to a conference room overlooking the city, and far more strategic than anyone realized. He placed a folder on the table. The will read at your house was real, but incomplete. There's an addendum filed separately with my office 6 months ago. My hands shook as I opened it. Mom's signature, dated April 15, 2024. The document was 12 pages of dense legal text, but Torres highlighted the key section: if Richard Henderson commits any act of cruelty, abandonment, or denial of inheritance rights toward Olivia Henderson within 30 days of Eleanor Henderson's passing, all assets shall immediately transfer to the Eleanor Henderson Foundation, with Olivia Henderson as permanent chairwoman. Mom knew. She knew everything. The stolen credit, the financial exploitation, my father's affairs, yes, plural. She documented it all. Torres pulled out a tablet. She also recorded this. Mom's face appeared on screen, thin but determined, dated June 2024. If you're watching this, Olivia, it means your father has shown his true nature. The foundation has existed since 2022. I've been transferring assets to it slowly, legally. Your father's signature is on every document. He never reads what I give him. The foundation, he explained, already controlled 45% of Henderson Development through various holdings. With the inheritance assets, I'd have majority control. But the will reading, your father triggered the clause at the funeral. I have 12 sworn affidavits from witnesses who heard him evict you. Plus this. He played an audio recording. My father's voice, crystal clear: find somewhere else to die. Your mother isn't here to protect you anymore. When do we act? I asked, my blood running cold and hot at the same time. The Century Tower presentation. Maximum impact. Maximum witnesses. Torres smiled. Your mother even predicted he'd do it at the funeral. She knew his need for control would override his caution when he thought he'd won. An email popped up on my phone from my father: your office has been cleaned out. Your belongings are in boxes by the service entrance. Don't make me call security. Torres saw my expression. Let him think he's won. 5 more days, Olivia. October 20th, 11 p.m. The building was mostly empty. My keycard was deactivated, but I still had my maintenance access code, something my father never knew about. The server room hummed. Every design, every revision, every timestamp, it was all here. 47 versions of Century Tower, each meticulously logged under my user ID. The metadata couldn't be faked, creation times at 2 a.m., 3 a.m., 4 a.m., hundreds of hours when my father was home sleeping. I plugged in my drive, downloading everything. Not just Century Tower, but 8 years of projects. Miss Henderson? I spun around. Derek, the night security guard who'd watched me enter this building at ungodly hours for years. Heard what happened at the funeral. Your mom was a good woman. He paused. You know, there's security footage of all your late nights. 7 years worth. It's backed up off-site. Shows you working here until dawn. Shows your father arriving at 9 a.m. sharp. He handed me a business card. My cousin works at the backup facility. Tell him I sent you. He can get you copies. Legal copies with authentication certificates. Derek, your mom brought my daughter soup when she was sick. Visited my wife during her chemo. Your father? He shrugged. Doesn't even know my name after 15 years. The files finished downloading. 2 terabytes of proof. Thank you, I whispered. Make it count, he replied. The next morning, my phone buzzed with unexpected messages. 3 senior architects from Henderson Development, reaching out privately. Saw what happened at the funeral. It's not right. We all know who really designed Century Tower. Your mother would be proud of you standing up to him. But the most surprising call came from James Mitchell, chairman of Henderson Development's board of directors. Olivia, we need to talk. Privately. We met at a small cafe in Cambridge. Mitchell looked tired. I've been on the board for 15 years. I've watched your father take credit for your work since you started. The board noticed. We all knew who really designed Metro Plaza. Then why didn't anyone? Your mother asked us not to. She said she had a plan, that we needed to wait. Eleanor was persuasive, and she was the one who brought most of us onto the board in the first place. He slid a folder across the table. 5 other board members are ready to support a no-confidence vote if given proper cause. Your father's been getting sloppy, arrogant. The funeral stunt disgusted everyone. October 22 arrived with a formal letter via courier. Your employment with Henderson Development Corporation is terminated. Effective immediately for failure to meet performance standards. My father had CC'd the entire industry contact list. By noon, LinkedIn was buzzing with comments about nepotism gone wrong. Mitchell texted me, he just gave us cause. Document everything. Torres responded with 4 words, perfect. 3 more days. October 23. My father couldn't resist twisting the knife deeper. He arranged a press conference at headquarters, officially to preview the Century Tower presentation, but really, to publicly destroy me. 50 journalists gathered. I watched the live stream from Torres's office. Before we discuss Century Tower, my father began, his voice heavy with false regret, I need to address recent personnel changes. It's never easy when family members can't meet professional standards. I tried for 8 years to mentor my daughter, to help her develop real skills. Unfortunately, despite every opportunity, she couldn't perform at the level Henderson Development requires. I had to make the difficult decision to terminate her employment for her own good. Really, she needs to find her own path, not ride on her father's coattails. Mr. Henderson, a reporter asked, there are rumors she designed significant portions of Century Tower. My father laughed. Olivia assisted with some basic drafting. Nothing creative, nothing structural. The vision, the innovation that comes from experience, she simply doesn't have. LinkedIn exploded. Henderson CEO shows tough love. 500 comments within an hour, most supporting my father's difficult but necessary decision. Tomorrow, he announced, you'll see the full Century Tower presentation. My masterpiece. 20 years of experience culminating in Boston's next iconic structure. Torres paused the stream. He's given us everything we need. Public defamation, professional slander, documented lies. He smiled. Your mother would have loved this. He's destroying himself with his own arrogance. My phone buzzed. Derek. Got the footage. 7 years. Authenticated. Ready when you are. This is it. The moment everything changes. 300 of Boston's most powerful people are about to witness the ultimate reversal. What do you think happens when a lifetime of lies gets exposed in front of everyone who matters? October 24th, Torres's conference room became a war room. 3 lawyers, 2 accountants, a court reporter. The restraining order is ready, Torres explained. The moment your father violated the clause, the foundation gained legal standing to freeze all disputed assets. Judge Martinez will sign it tomorrow morning, 1 hour before the presentation. We reviewed the evidence, the audio from the funeral, the 12 notarized affidavits, my server logs, Derek's security footage. But the most powerful evidence was the video my mother had recorded in June. She looked directly at the camera, her voice steady despite the pain medication. I, Eleanor Henderson, being of sound mind, do testify that my husband, Richard Henderson, has systematically stolen credit for our daughter Olivia's architectural work for 8 years. I have watched him present her designs as his own, deny her rightful recognition, and financially exploit her talents. Century Tower is entirely Olivia's creation. I have the original sketches she drew at our kitchen table, dated and signed. Richard has never drawn a single line of it. This plays after he finishes bragging? I asked. At the perfect moment, when he's showing his designs on the main screen. We'll override the presentation system. The hotel's AV team is already briefed. They have a court order to comply. Mitchell called. The board members are all attending tomorrow. We'll be ready for an emergency vote the moment the truth comes out. That night, I couldn't sleep. Tomorrow, 8 years of humiliation would end. My father would finally face consequences. My phone lit up with a text from an unknown number. Your mom would be so proud. Derek. October 25th, 3 p.m. The Ritz-Carlton ballroom was magnificent. Crystal chandeliers, floor-to-ceiling windows. 300 chairs filled with the city's elite. The stage held a massive screen displaying the Century Tower logo, my design, his name underneath. I stood at the entrance, my name conspicuously absent from the guest list. I'm sorry, miss, the security guard said. You're not authorized. She's with me. Torres appeared, holding a court order. Judge Martinez requires Miss Henderson's presence for legal proceedings. We entered just as my father took the stage. He looked imperial, basking in the attention. The mayor sat front row. 8 major investment firms had representatives present. Ladies and gentlemen, my father began, today, you'll witness the culmination of my life's work. Century Tower isn't just a building. It's a revolution in sustainable urban design. The screen showed my first sketches. He'd even kept my handwritten notes in the margins, too arrogant to notice they were in my handwriting. Every line, every angle represents decades of experience and innovation. This morning, 8 firms committed $200 million in funding based on these designs, my designs. Mitchell caught my eye from the board section. He nodded slightly. 5 other board members sat ready. My father clicked to the next slide, the environmental systems I'd spent 6 months perfecting. The energy efficiency alone will save 30% annually. I conceived this system after years of studying. Torres stood up. Excuse me, Mr. Henderson. The room turned. My father's smile flickered. I'm afraid there's a legal matter that requires immediate attention. This is a private event. With a court order superseding privacy. Torres walked toward the stage. Shall we continue? My father's recovery was swift, his salesman's instincts kicking in. He actually smiled wider, gesturing dismissively. "Everyone, please excuse this minor interruption. My lawyer friend here must be confused about the venue. Perhaps we can address whatever this is after." "I insist we address it now," Torres said firmly, now standing at the base of the stage. My father laughed, playing to the crowd. "You see the challenges of success. Even at moments of triumph, there are always complications." He looked directly at me, finally noticing my presence. Some people can't accept when they're not part of the story. The audience shifted uncomfortably, but my father pressed on, clicking to the next slide. The crown jewel of the presentation. This atrium design will redefine public spaces. Notice the mathematical precision, the artistic vision. It took me months to perfect these angles. I knew those angles intimately. I'd calculated them during Mom's chemotherapy sessions, finding peace in the precision while she slept. 10 years of my expertise went into this project, he continued, his voice growing more grandiose, which is why I had to make difficult decisions about my team. Some people simply weren't capable of understanding this level of sophistication. The mayor nodded approvingly. Investors leaned forward, captivated. In fact, just this week, I had to terminate an employee who claimed credit for this work. Can you imagine an intern with no real experience trying to steal recognition for Century Tower? Gasps rippled through the audience. He was publicly destroying me in front of everyone who mattered in Boston. "Sometimes," he said, looking straight at me, "people need to learn their place." Torres pulled out his phone. "Mr. Henderson, are you finished?" "I'm just getting started." "Perfect. So are we." Torres walked onto the stage with the confidence of a man holding 4 aces. The court order in his hand caught the light. "Ladies and gentlemen, I apologize for the interruption, but this is a matter of legal urgency." He held up the document. "This is a court order from Judge Martinez signed this morning regarding the estate of Eleanor Henderson and the rightful ownership of the intellectual property being presented today." My father's face shifted from annoyance to concern. "This is highly inappropriate." "What's inappropriate, Mr. Henderson, is fraud." Torres's voice carried across the silent ballroom. "On October 18th, at Eleanor Henderson's funeral, you violated a binding legal clause in her estate documents." He connected his phone to the sound system. My father lunged for the microphone, but Torres stepped aside. 200 witnesses heard you say this to your daughter." The recording played crystal clear through the ballroom speakers. "Find somewhere else to die. Your mother isn't here to protect you anymore." Gasps echoed through the room. The mayor's mouth fell open. Several people pulled out their phones, recording. "This triggered an addendum to Eleanor Henderson's will," Torres continued. "All assets, including the $33 million you thought you inherited, immediately transferred to the Eleanor Henderson Foundation. Olivia Henderson is the permanent chairwoman of that foundation." "This is ridiculous." Furthermore, Torres raised his voice over my father's protests. "The foundation already owns 45% of Henderson Development Corporation through holdings Eleanor established over the past 2 years. With the inherited assets, Miss Henderson now controls 51% of the company you claim to run." The board members stood up. Mitchell spoke clearly, "We need an emergency board meeting, now." I walked onto the stage, carrying my laptop and a USB drive. The ballroom was dead silent, 300 pairs of eyes tracking my movement. My father stood frozen, his face cycling through disbelief, rage, and fear. "Since we're discussing Century Tower," I said, my voice steady, "let's look at the real story." I plugged the USB into the presentation system. The screen changed, showing file metadata. 47 versions of Century Tower designs. Every single one created under my user ID. Look at the timestamps. 2:47 a.m., 3:01 a.m., 4:32 a.m. While Mr. Henderson was sleeping, I was creating his masterpiece. The screen shifted to security footage. 7 years of surveillance video, authenticated. Here I am, January 15th, working until dawn on Metro Plaza. February 9th, all night on Harbor Square. March through September this year, 212 hours logged after midnight. All on Century Tower. Derek had included a compilation reel. The audience watched me enter the building in darkness and leave at sunrise, day after day, year after year. James Mitchell stood up. I can confirm this. The board has suspected for years that Olivia was the true architect behind Henderson Development's success. The screen changed again. My mother's face appeared, thin but fierce. I, Eleanor Henderson, being of sound mind, do testify that my husband, Richard Henderson, has systematically stolen credit for our daughter Olivia's architectural work for 8 years. The room erupted. Journalists typed frantically. Investors pulled out phones, making urgent calls. Every design you've seen today, I said, looking at the audience, not my father, every innovation you've admired, I created them. The evidence is irrefutable. The truth is finally public. My father's mouth moved, but no sound came out. Torres returned to the microphone, his voice cutting through the chaos. As of this moment, the Eleanor Henderson Foundation legally owns all disputed assets, the $33 million, the properties, and most significantly, 51% of Henderson Development Corporation. He turned to my father. Mr. Henderson, you no longer have controlling interest in the company you've been running. 3 investors in the front row stood up immediately. We are withdrawing our memorandums of understanding, one announced. We invested in Century Tower based on fraudulent representations. Our $200 million commitment is void. Another added, mine too. My father finally found his voice. This is entrapment. It's a setup. It's justice, Mitchell said, stepping onto the stage. As chairman of the board, I'm calling an emergency meeting right now. All board members present. 11 hands raised in the audience. Motion to vote no confidence in CEO Richard Henderson. Seconded, called another board member. All in favor? 11 hands shot up. Only my father's remained down. Motion carries. Richard Henderson, you are terminated as CEO of Henderson Development Corporation. Effective immediately. Security guards appeared at the stage edges, not to remove me this time, but to escort my father. The board nominates Olivia Henderson as interim CEO, Mitchell continued. I stepped forward. I appreciate the nomination, but I decline. I'll serve as Chief Design Officer, the role I've actually been filling for 8 years. The board can search for a CEO who leads with integrity. The audience erupted in applause. My father stood alone on the stage, his empire crumbling in real time. You can't do this, he whispered. It's already done, Torres replied. Your wife made sure of that. The board's decision was swift. We also need to address the false representation to investors, Mitchell announced. Mr. Henderson, you've exposed this company to massive liability. My father grabbed the microphone one last time. This is my company. I built it from nothing. With your wife's money and your daughter's talent, Mitchell countered. Security, please escort Mr. Henderson from the stage. 2 guards approached. My father backed away, his face purple with rage. You ungrateful. He pointed at me. After everything I've done for you. You mean everything you've stolen from me, I said, my voice level, professional. 8 years of my work for $45,000 a year, while you build my designs at $200 an hour. That ends today. The mayor stood up, clearly distancing himself. I think I've seen enough. The city will be reviewing all Henderson development contracts for potential fraud. A Boston Globe reporter raised her hand. Miss Henderson, will you continue with Century Tower? Absolutely. But with full transparency about who designed it. The contracts will be amended to reflect the truth. What about your father's role? I looked at him, still standing between the security guards. The board will determine if there's any position suitable for his actual skills. I suggest advisory consultant, Mitchell said. Limited authority, reporting to the chief design officer. If he accepts. My father's humiliation was complete. From CEO to consultant, reporting to the daughter he'd exploited. Never, he spat. Then you have no role at all, Mitchell replied simply. Your choice. The guards escorted him toward the exit, past 300 witnesses to his downfall. As security led him away, he made one last desperate attempt to salvage something. This is a conspiracy. My wife was mentally incompetent when she made these changes. I'll challenge every document. Torres pulled out his tablet. Eleanor anticipated that claim. She had 3 independent psychiatrists evaluate her monthly from January to September 2024. All confirmed her complete mental competence. Would you like to see the reports? My father stopped struggling. The fight drained from his face as the full scope of Mom's planning became clear. His phone rang. He answered on speaker, probably from habit. Richard, this is Charles from the country club. The board held an emergency vote. Your membership has been revoked. Effective immediately. Another call came through instantly. Mr. Henderson, Boston Business Alliance. Your keynote at next month's summit has been cancelled. The Globe photographer captured it perfectly, my father, phone in hand, watching his entire social structure collapse. The photo would run on tomorrow's front page under the headline, Henderson's House of Cards. Dad, I said quietly. Everyone turned to listen. Mom left you a letter. It's in the foundation documents. Torres handed him an envelope. My father's hands shook as he opened it. I knew what it said. Mom had shown me her draft. Richard, I gave you 30 years to be the man I thought you were. You chose differently. I'm protecting Olivia, not from spite, but from love. The foundation will support you with a reasonable salary if you work honestly. Your choice, as always. He crumpled the letter. I don't need charity from my dead wife or ungrateful daughter. Then you need to leave, Mitchell said firmly. Now. Security escorted him out. 300 people watched in silence as Richard Henderson left his own event in disgrace. Within an hour, the story exploded. The Globe's website crashed. By October 26, Century Tower Truth had 2.3 million views. The security footage compilation Derek provided went viral, a time-lapse of me working through thousands of nights while my father took credit for every sunrise. CNN Business picked it up. Forbes ran a profile, Olivia Henderson, the real genius behind Boston's skyline. My phone exploded. 15 architecture firms offered partnerships. MIT called. The American Institute of Architects fast-tracked my fellowship application. But the most meaningful responses came from other women in the industry. Thank you for being brave enough to speak up. Your story gave me courage to document my own situation. My boss has been stealing my designs for 3 years. I'm meeting with a lawyer tomorrow. The Wall Street Journal's analysis was particularly damaging to my father. Henderson Development stock rose 12% following leadership change, suggesting investors have more confidence in transparent management. Torres forwarded me a compilation of metrics. Your mother would be amazed, he said. She hoped for justice. This is a revolution. The Century Tower investors reconvened that afternoon. All 8 major firms reinstated their commitments, but with one condition: I had to be the lead architect on record. Finally, one said, we know we're investing in the real talent. They increased the commitment to $500 million, adding funding for a mentorship program I proposed, bringing young female architects into major projects. Mitchell led the board through a complete restructuring. 5 senior architects complicit in my father's deception were terminated. Clean house, clean slate, Mitchell announced. We implemented an attribution transparency protocol. Every design contribution tracked, credited, compensated fairly. Junior architects would never again see their work stolen. By November 1st, Henderson Development had become a case study in successful crisis management through radical transparency. My father maintained complete silence for 3 months. No calls, no texts. He'd moved to a downtown apartment. His penthouse sold to cover legal fees. Then, I found something that changed everything. In Mom's safe, beneath legal documents, were 53 letters. 1 for each week of her planning. My darling girl, if you're reading this, you've already won. By January 2025, my father's complete fall from grace was thoroughly documented. The country club revocation stood. His name was quietly removed from charity boards. The financial consequences were severe, but not cruel. The foundation provided him a comfortable living allowance. He'd never starve, but he'd never again live in penthouses. The social consequences cut deeper. Boston's elite operated on reputation, and his was irreparably damaged. 3 months after the revelation, a formal letter arrived at the foundation. Handwritten. My father's distinctive script, but somehow different, smaller, more careful. Olivia, I've spent 3 months in therapy mandated by the board if I want any role at the company. Dr. Brennan has forced me to confront truths I've avoided for 60 years. I see now what I refused to see for 32 years. You were the talent, the vision, the future. I was just the salesman who got lucky marrying your mother and fathering you. My narcissism, that's what Dr. Brennan calls it, made me believe I deserved credit for everything around me. Now, I'm not asking for forgiveness. I'm asking for the chance to earn a small place in the company I claimed to build, but you actually created. Richard. Mitchell brought it to the board. He's requesting the advisory position. Limited hours, reporting to Olivia, focusing only on vendor relationships where he actually has expertise. What do you think? They asked me. He can have 3 months probation. 1 false claim, 1 stolen credit, and he's gone forever. That's generous. It's what Mom would want. 6 months later, March 2025. The Century Tower groundbreaking ceremony drew 1,000 attendees. The mayor spoke about Boston's new era of transparent development. The governor praised ethical leadership. I stood at the podium where my father had fallen, but I felt no satisfaction in the parallel. This wasn't about revenge. It was about building something real. Century Tower rises not from deception, but from truth, I began. Every beam, every angle, every innovation comes from acknowledged talent and credited work. This building will stand as proof that integrity and success aren't mutually exclusive. My father sat in row 10, not on the stage. He wore a simple suit. He took notes during my speech, actually listening for perhaps the first time. After the ceremony, my father approached. We'd had 6 months of limited, professional interaction. The speech was excellent, he said quietly. Your mother would be proud. She knew this day would come. She knew everything, didn't she? She knew enough. He nodded, started to leave, then turned back. I'm proud, too. For what that's worth now. It's worth something, I said. Not everything, not yet. But something. The new boundaries with my father were clear, professional, non-negotiable. Monthly dinners, last Thursday of each month, 7 to 9 p.m., exactly. Not at the family home, which had been sold. We met at quiet restaurants. How's the Riverside project, he'd ask. On schedule. The client appreciates the transparent billing. I remember when I pitched them initially. When you pitched them my preliminary designs. He'd wince but no longer argue. Dr. Brennan had apparently made progress. I've been thinking about the Morrison account, he said during one dinner. Submit it through proper channels, even for casual observations, especially for those. We document everything now. He accepted it. What choice did he have? We're colleagues, I told him firmly. Not the family we were before. Not enemies. But professional associates with a complicated history. That's all we may ever be. Your mother hoped for more. Mom hoped for a lot of things. She settled for protecting me instead. That's her real legacy, knowing when hope isn't enough. In the end, my mother's greatest gift wasn't the money or even the company control. It was the permission to choose myself. Her final letter, dated 1 week before she died, laid it all out. My dearest Olivia, if you're reading this, your father has shown you who he really is, and you've shown the world who you really are. I didn't give you wealth, that was always yours, earned through your brilliant mind and dedicated hands. I simply created a mechanism for truth to surface. Power isn't about controlling others. It's about creating something meaningful, something that outlasts our individual egos. Your designs will stand for generations. Your father's lies have already crumbled. I stayed longer than I should have, hoping he would change, hoping you'd never need these protections. But hope without action is just illusion. So, I acted quietly, carefully, building a fortress of legal documents and financial structures that would activate only if needed. You may wonder why I didn't do this sooner. The truth is, I needed to know you were ready, not just for the confrontation, but for what comes after. Power requires wisdom. Success demands grace. You have both now. Don't seek revenge. Seek restoration of your name, your work, your worth. Set boundaries, not as walls, but as bridges with toll gates. Some people earn free passage through consistent respect. Others pay the price of limited access. And some find the bridge permanently closed. All three are valid choices. Your father is who he is. That's his burden to carry. Your burden is choosing how much of his weight you'll help bear. Choose wisely. Choose based on your healing, not his comfort. Build beautiful things, my darling. Build them with truth. All my love, Mom. I folded the letter, returning it to the safe. Tomorrow, Century Tower's first beam would be placed. My name would be on the cornerstone, finally, rightfully. The foundation had grown to $100 million in assets. The mentorship program had expanded nationwide. My story had inspired legislative proposals for attribution rights in creative industries. But tonight, I stood in my own apartment, bought with my own money, looking at my own designs on my own drafting table. No one else's name would ever overshadow mine again. That's the real inheritance my mother left me, the unshakable knowledge that I deserve to be seen, credited, and valued for exactly who I am. Boundaries aren't cruel, they're necessary. Self-respect isn't selfish, it's survival. And sometimes, the greatest love a parent can show is teaching their child when to stop hoping and start protecting themselves. That's where my story ends, but hopefully where yours begins. If you're dealing with family members who diminish your worth or steal your light, remember, you deserve recognition for your contributions. You deserve respect for your boundaries. And you deserve relationships that honor who you really are. What would you have done in my shoes? Have you ever had to draw a line in the sand with family? Tell me what you think in the comments below, I really want to know.